Okay, then let's move on to the championship playoffs. It's going to be, as Craig Marias predicted, a Southwest London final. Brentford 3, Swansea 1. Brentford win 3-2 on aggregate. They overturned a 1-0 deficit. It was a good performance there from the Bees, Craig Marias.
It was. They really needed a big performance, to be honest with you. I think they let themselves down in the first leg. It was a fantastic goal by Ayew, who also missed a penalty in that match. So they, Swansea could have been 2-0 up in the first leg. But I thought the Brentford performance in the second leg, when they played at home, was really good. I mean, the quality of Ollie Watkins' goal. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it all came from a Swansea free kick. But the counter attack thereafter. The speed in which they did it was really good. And Thomas Frank, we're really proud of his boys. Really good, convincing, dominating performance. And they're through to the final.
Yeah. Despite not making it, Steve Cooper and Swansea can hold their heads up high, can't they, Bob? Because we forget it's Steve Cooper's first season in management. Of course, he won the Under-17 World Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, with Ryan Brewster. So he knows a lot about him. He scored a nice goal the other night as well, last night. I mean, I think there's a bigger picture here with Brentford. It's the fact that they've done this basically with a Moneyball type operation. They haven't spent hardly any money. If they have, it's been a very small fee. And then they've sold a guy on to somebody else for quite big money. And yet they've steadily built up from the 4th division when they nearly went out of business altogether about 10 years ago to the brink of the Premier League. And it really does make you think that maybe there is something in this method after all. And they've got an incredible scouting network, and it's all done online. It's all done with, it's not the old-fashioned method of going to watch players and taking a liking to somebody's left foot or something, I mean, it's all done scientifically, and they've just been buying and selling players, and they renew the team every year, and they just get better and better. The only weakness they have had throughout this period has been their playoff performances. And in finals, they've lost actually 8 games. They've only been in 8, and they've lost every single one of them. I'm reliably informed by our old friend Ray Jennings, who's a big Brentford fan. So, can history repeat, or will they break the curse? That's the question. But the other thing here is worth mentioning is London really is looking at having 7 teams in the Premier League.
Wow.
They did have 8 at one time. I mean, people talk about Manchester or Liverpool being the football capital of the country, but London, really, no one can hold a candle to them. Yeah. I mean, I know it's a much bigger place, but when you think 7 teams in the top flight, Paris, PSG are the only team in Paris. Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid are the 2 main teams in Madrid. I mean, London has got so many, and you haven't mentioned the other teams.
Yeah,
QPR, Charlton, all the rest. Yeah. I mean, there's about 15 teams in London.
Orient,
Leyton Orient, yeah. I mean, it's incredible, the strength of football. So we've got a London derby in the FA Cup final, and we've got a London derby in the Championship playoff final. So that really does tell you London's strength in football.
London's a bit of all right, innit? All right, then. Brentford say goodbye to Griffin Park after 116 years. They move to the new Brentford Community Stadium next season, hopefully as a Premier League club. They take on Fulham, Keesh, in the final on Tuesday. Fulham had to withstand a gutsy fight back from Cardiff. They also did it without their top scorer, Mitrovic.
Yeah, it was a really scrappy affair. I think everyone expected this tie to be really, really close. Obviously, Fulham, they've done really, really well. to sort of bounce back. You see a lot of sides getting relegated to the Premier League. Obviously, you've got the mechanisms like the parachute payments and all that now. But more often than not, you see sides falling into the Championship and then sort of struggling to keep their necks out of the water. But Fulham have done really, really well in bouncing back, in sort of remaining competitive, and making use of certain strengths that they have in their squad, in the form of especially Mitrovic. But obviously, they didn't have Mitrovic for this particular game, but they've been able to grind out a massive win away from home as well, because there was a lot of pessimism after that first leg defeat at Craven Cottage. But to go to Wales and to be able to grind out that 2-1 win and get the result, I think it's absolutely impressive. And I mean, it will really be fascinating.
You got it wrong. Cardiff won at Fulham, but Fulham still go through.
Yeah. No, especially after the result at Craven Cottage. What I mean is the pessimism for Fulham supporters after Cardiff won there. But yeah, it's a really good result, and I'm looking forward for the Championship playoff final. Though I'm a huge fan of Brentford, and I have a bit of bias towards them. If the listeners out there have not read their story, you've got to go and read about their two co-football directors. They've got two young guys running the show. There's a massive data revolution going on at the club. I mean, what's to not like about a story like that? Taking a small club, implementing modern solutions, and it's working. So I've got my biases for Brentford, and I think they might just have the slight edge as well with the all attacking football style.
All right.
Sorry, quickly, Ross, can I just say, I mean, we talk about Fulham as well, that's another young manager that we have there in Scott Parker, first year management, first full year. And now you're starting to see, your Gerrards, your Lampards, your Oles, and Scott Parker and all that. These players that we, over the last 10, 15 years that we saw playing at such a high level, now they're coming into their own kind of forte, and they're coming up as promising young coaches, and it's fantastic to see Arteta as well. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's all set for a final with lots of goals. Two counter-attacking sides. Brentford versus Fulham is a Wednesday morning, 2:45 a.m. kickoff. Let's discuss a few transfers, because big news this week. Man City have made some moves, haven't they? They've signed Ferran Torres, the 20-year-old Spanish winger from Valencia, for a reported 23 million euros. That's a good signing, isn't it, Bob?
I reckon, yeah. I'm surprised they got him so cheaply.
Leroy Sané replacement, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, as soon as Man City or Chelsea come in for you, the club or just about doubles the price tag. So they've done well to get him for that money. And Nathan Ake also, for a relatively modest fee, 40 million. I mean, he's got a lot of Premier League experience with Bournemouth and Chelsea before that. Yeah. I think they've done very well. Outstanding bit of business there. They're tackling their weaknesses, remedying their weaknesses. I mean, Ake can play football. He's got two good feet. I mean, that's paramount for Pep. He wouldn't buy another centre-back that didn't, having experienced what they have lately. So City are going to be a force. They are actually favourites with the bookies, to win the title next season.
Wow.
I think because they've got the money and they're going to strengthen, and Liverpool are looking as if they're going to stick with what they've got. I think that's probably the reason. It should be a great battle next season. But these transfers, and Chelsea are already moving. I mean, they've signed two players, Werner and Ziyech already, and they're close to getting Havertz. This is a major move by Chelsea, who were famously banned from signing anybody for one window. They're making up for lost time now. And I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with next season as well, if they get Havertz, certainly.
Okay, so Ferran Torres and Nathan Ake to Man City, they look like done deals. Brighton, Craig, have signed a Netherlands Ajax defender as well, Joel Veltman. I had to look him up. Apparently, he played 5 Champions League games for Ajax last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been quite prominent at Ajax. It's a good signing, very good signing. They're signing a solid defender. I don't think it's a signing that's going to get Brighton fans jumping off their seats. But what they should look at is the CV. I mean, you're talking about getting a Champions League player who's had the tutelage of playing at Ajax, learning the Ajax way. It's a very, very good signing for Brighton and Graham Potter. And then they got the obvious one, in Adam Lallana, who for me, I still think, at 32, he can offer something to the Premier League. He's nowhere near past the sell-by date. I think with him,
he can score at Old Trafford, can't he?
I think with Lallana, it's just staying fit, and that's been his problem. That hampered his time at Liverpool. Staying fit, free of injury. I think he's got a niggling ankle injury, if I remember correctly. But it's adding to that creative thing. I mean, we did say when Brighton made the decision to part ways with Chris Hughton this time last year, it was ludicrous, and how can they do that? They brought in Graham Potter, who literally kind of changed the way that Brighton play. There's more, you enjoy watching Brighton play now. There's more quality going forward. There's more creativity, and Lallana's just going to add to that, really.
Yeah.
So fantastic signing on a free transfer by Brighton and Graham Potter. On both defensively and offensively.
Yeah, Bob mentioned Chelsea making a few moves, Keesh. There's a lot of talk about Ben Chilwell wanting to leave Leicester for Chelsea. That's going to be big money if it happens.
Yeah, the problem with going for any Premier League player is that the prices will be incredibly inflated. It is the reality, like it or not. But it's not a surprising move because Chelsea have needed to strengthen the defense more than the attack. I mean, Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, and even Kai Havertz, all of them are exceptional players, don't get me wrong. But you look at the Chelsea team at the moment and you think of what needs fixing, and you immediately tilt your head towards the defense because that's the one that needs fixing. Azpilicueta is getting older. He's been a real good servant and still, he's still pretty good in a back three, but otherwise, he struggles at times. He's a reliable backup option, I suppose. At left back, Marcus Alonso fits a wing back position, but is he exactly suited to the left back role? Is he dependable? Emerson, I don't really buy that as well. So Ben Chilwell is an option that will definitely come in and shore up the defense. The question mark is whether or not they can afford the price tag that Leicester would set, because I happen to think that they also need more reinforcements at the back. They need a couple of central defenders, at least one, because they've looked really, really shaky. And if they're really going to push the likes of Liverpool and Man City next season, which I think they intend to, given their offensive purchases, but if you really want to push them, you've got to work on that defense. And at the moment, with Chilwell alone coming in, I don't think it solves the problem. You need at least a central defender. The problem is when you get Chilwell, it's a lot of money being spent on a single player.
Yeah.
I think what we're forgetting as well is the goalkeeping area.
Well, Frank wants one, doesn't he?
Yeah.
They've got a big problem there in terms of, they got the world's most expensive goalkeeper.
Who Frank doesn't like.
They obviously want to flog it off. Yeah. Who Frank doesn't like, and there's hope that they're going to go in for the Ajax goalkeeper.
Ter Stegen, yeah.
I just want to point out, Ross.
Oh, yeah. Onana, yeah.
Onana, yeah.
In a world where we're talking about 40 million, 50 million, and 60 million figures, I just want to point out the fact that Graham Potter and Brighton have been able to sign Joel Veltman, a player who can play at centre-back and right-back. He brings the versatility that Graham Potter wants for £900,000. It's just incredible. When you look at the pedigree of the player, you look at the CV that he comes with, and then you look at the sum that Brighton paid to get him from Ajax. That it's a really, really, really good signing.
All right.
Well, I tell you who's going to be the bargain of the summer, and that's Willian. He's going to be going for a free transfer.
A freebie,
I mean, the problem is he wants a 3-year contract, and he's already 30, and Chelsea are loath to give him 3 years.
I have a feeling they'll cave in, Chelsea. I really do think he's important to them, and that they'll offer him 2 or 3 years that he wants.
But can he play in goal?
That's a great question. All right, let's turn our attentions then to Saturday's FA Cup final. It's the ideal way to finally bring the English football season to a close. It features, as Bob mentioned, a London derby. Actually, Arsenal have the upper hand here, haven't they? They won in 2002. They beat Chelsea in 2017. They're going into this with two fresh managers. Who are you leaning towards, Bob Holmes?
I'll go for Chelsea. I think they've just got a bit more about them. I mean, I know that Arteta has tightened up Arsenal's defence, and definitely Arsenal have the better goalkeeper. But Chelsea, with that attack, with a rejuvenated Olivier Giroud and Pulisic knocking them in, there's a slight doubt about Willian's fitness, but even if he's only on the bench, he's likely to make an impact. I think they've got a bit of momentum. They saw off Wolves last week, ensured their place in the top four. They beat United, quite impressively, really, when you think about it. So I think they probably have the edge. They are the slight favourites, but I think it's an intriguing battle. I mean, you've got two rookie managers. I think you can still call Frank Lampard a rookie. He's certainly a rookie in the Premier League, who've both made a positive start. You've got slightly dodgy defences, but you've got very potent attacks. Yeah. There are goals there. It could be a high-scoring game. I mean, we haven't had a ding-dong high-scoring cup final for a while. Well, Man City got a few last year, but it was all at one end, wasn't it? What we want is a 4-3 or something. And I think this game, it is capable of producing a game like that. Because in a cup final, these weaknesses in defence, they tend to get exposed. Wembley is a big ground, and I know there won't be any fans there, but still, I think there is a sense of occasion. It's an FA Cup final after all, and you saw the way the winning teams celebrated their semi-finals. It was exactly as they would have celebrated if there'd been a crowd there. So I think we could be in for a very, very entertaining game here, and I would lean towards Chelsea.
Okay, Craig, Mikel Arteta is imprinting his style and identity on Arsenal, but it's their worst league finish for 25 years. I mean, Arsenal fans at the end of the day are grumbling about that. So that's added pressure. He now kind of has to set the record. 13 FA Cup wins, beat Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't think it's added pressure, to be honest with you. I think, the fans who can actually see football can see the progress that the team collectively is making in terms of the way they're playing, in terms of the style. We got to remember that Arteta hasn't had a transfer window. So, he'll definitely get some reinforcements. You'd hope the board will back him in the summer. He'll get players that can play more to his style. He might get rid of a few, that don't quite deserve to be here, Mesut Ozil. But yeah, you can see the improvements that this team has made from Unai Emery to Mikel Arteta. Is it added pressure on them to win? I think that they've got this far in terms of the final. They've got a fantastic record in the FA Cup, Arsenal. It can't be ignored. I'm actually going to go for an upset here. I think Arsenal is so unpredictable. It really depends which Arsenal turns up on the day. We've seen, a shambolic Arsenal turn up before, as we did at City. And then we've seen, a very good Arsenal performance that they're more than capable of stringing together like they did against City. I'm going to go for an upset. I think they're going to upset the odds. I'm going on the back of their fantastic FA Cup record and the form of Aubameyang. I think that kind of tilts it to Arsenal for me.
All right. Okay. Keesh, it's going to be the first cup final played behind closed doors in England. I mean, we've seen Premier League games. This is different because in England, Cup final day, I think 2 or 3 hours before the final, it's all about the fans. It's the build up to the final. That's going to be massive. Is it going to affect the game, do you think?
The thing with the Premier League is I think the players are all at a level of professionalism where they have sort of adapted to perform at their very best, even without fans. We've seen it in the Premier League. After the first couple of match days within Project Restart, almost every team started playing at their level best. Some of the footballs, the intricacies of the passing, it was almost as if there were no fans. And I'm pretty sure within their respective clubs as well, when you deal with club psychologists, when you deal with individuals that coach them on mental strength, I think it always boils down to the players being told to play as if they're not hearing the fans. Because if you're positively impacted by it, sure, but you don't want to be negatively impacted by fans as well on the pitch. So in that sense, I think it doesn't impact. But there's a very deep feeling of uneasiness about this, about the fact that there is a cup final that's going to be played without fans. I know there's all these arguments about it needing to be done for legal reasons, for sponsorship reasons. You've got to get the money over the lines. You don't want to open anyone to the firing line of lawsuits. But it's still very uneasy. It's not an easy thing to digest, to see fans being sidelined from an occasion like this. So it'll be very sad that an FA Cup final is being played, especially at a stadium like Wembley. Absolutely. Without 90,000 fans. Yeah. But it is what it is. And echoing what Craig said earlier, I'm just going to get a bit more specific. It's not about which Arsenal turn up. It really just boils down to whether David Luiz turns up or not. It really just boils down to that. Because if the guy shows up like he did against Man City, then I'm telling you this Arsenal side are good value to beat Chelsea. But everyone else could turn up, and if David Luiz just chooses not to turn up, then it ends disastrously for Arsenal.
I understood.
I previewed this, guys, the cup final already, and I called it the David Lewis Derby.
Absolutely. All right, some early team news. Bernd Leno apparently is available, but Emi Martinez will probably remain in goal. Gabriel Martinelli, Shrokdan Mustafi, Pablo Mari, Callum Chambers are all out, injured for Arsenal. Craig, technically, Mesut Ozil and Matteo Guendouzi are available for Arteta.
But there's a but after that.
Underline but.
I think it's clear and obvious that their time at the club is over, to be honest with you. I think it's no secret with Mesut Ozil. I think his wages play a big factor in it. Does he fit the style of Arteta? Probably not the way that he wants to move forward. I still think he's a quality player on his day, but he just needs to get away now. It doesn't help when his agent comes out and says he's happy to sit on the bench and rot and pick up his 250 grand a week, which doesn't really sit well with me. But I mean, that's the current climate that we live in terms of football.
Yeah, he's seen Gareth Bale, hasn't he?
Exactly. And then you have Guendouzi, who actually I rate really highly. And I don't think we'll be short of a lot of suitors if he's available for transfer.
Okay.
The main thing with him is his attitude, and if he wants to have a good career, not only in the Premier League or at Arsenal Football Club, but in general, if he wants to have a good career, he needs to sort that out, because as we've seen in the past with players, attitude means a lot as well. And if that's not sorted out, then he won't have the career that we think he will.
Okay, early Chelsea team news is that N'Golo Kante is facing a race to return from a thigh injury. Is it important, Bob, that Chelsea get him back in that midfield?
I think it is. It's not absolutely crucial. They've managed reasonably well without him. But he's not been quite the force he was. I think he was better at Leicester, to be honest. That season, when they won the title, he was absolutely fantastic. He's never quite come up to that level, in my opinion, at Chelsea. He was played in a different position for much of the time, though, to be fair. But I still think he's a very, very good player, and should certainly be in the squad, if not in the first 11. And with all these, interesting, you should mention him, with Chelsea signing these midfield players, you wonder where everybody's going to fit in, don't you? I mean, I think there's got to be some sort of sale as well, They've got a lot of bodies in there. And as Keesh said earlier on, it should be the defence that they're concentrating on.
All right, let's get a prediction or two from the guys then. We're going to start with you, Keeshnan. What do you think is going to happen in the FA Cup final? Give us a score.
I'm a big fan of the work that Arteta has done at Arsenal, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that David Luiz turns up, because we all don't want to watch a game where David Luiz doesn't turn up. And I think Arsenal will nick this one 2-1.
Arsenal to win 2-1. Arsenal have won 76 occasions, Chelsea 65, 59 draws of their FA Cup clashes. Arsenal have 9, Chelsea have 5. There have been 6 draws. Bob, what is your cup final prediction?
I'll go for Chelsea. I think there will be goals in it. I'll go for Chelsea 3-1.
Chelsea 3-1, lots of goals. Craig Marias, I know you're going to lean towards Arsenal. Give us a scoreline.
3-2 to Arsenal. Like Bob, I think there's going to be quite a few goals in this. I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant stuff. It's going to be loads of goals, and the guys have said it's a midnight Sunday morning kickoff. It's Arsenal versus Chelsea. It's the FA Cup final, and we'll be talking about it on Monday's radio show. For now, let me say many thanks to Bob Holmes.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the final. Should be a cracker.
It should be. Thanks to Craig Marias.
Thank you very much, guys.
And thanks to Keesh.
Cheers, Ross.
Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Catch you next week. Bye-bye.